So till the time whatever introduction we have seen is just what is .NET, what we can do by using .NET, how .NET came into the industry. So with this, the programming, what I am going to give you as part of this C# .NET sessions will give you lot of confidence. Okay, so be careful. So have you gone through it, guys? All of you gone through that introduction part? Have you gone through the introduction part?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. In my material, see, always every day, like whenever you are coming to the class, you better to refer the notes and come to the class. Then it will be good for you. And whoever is caring about programming, I am giving confidence to you, no doubt. You don't require to worry. From basic level, like C level programming, I will teach in C# .NET initial days. So I'll start from very scratch. Whether you are coming from CSE, computers background or non-computers background is not matter. Follow each and every pinpoint what I am talking and what I am doing, as well as uh, the tip for to be fast in programming is only one thing. Before coming to the class, refer the notes and come to the class. And when you are attending the session, concentration, regularity. Second is serious about assignments. Okay, right. First question is, what is C#.NET? What is C#.NET? So,
It's a net
right
language.
answer is what? C#.NET
It's a
is
net
a
language.
.NET language. C#.NET is a .NET language. Is a .NET language. Okay, so now the second question is, why C#.NET? Why maintenance? Silence maintenance is very important in the class. If you have any other disturbances, immediately mute yourself. Why C#? Because I have to concentrate the presentation. Okay, that is your responsibility. Why C#.NET? So the second question is, now you are learning C#.NET. Not only you, every .NET developer has to learn C#.NET. So question is, why? What is the role of C#.NET? Why every .NET developer has to learn the C#.NET? Come on.
To define the functionality of the application.
Define the functionality of the application, right? So now this is the time where we have to understand whenever you are developing an application, whenever we are developing an application, we need one technology and one language. Now we people have to understand what is the role of language, what is the role of technology. On that day also I said I will give you the clarity about that. So here, right, I want to develop a web application. I want to develop a web application. So Kalyani, you tell me, if I want to develop a web application by using .NET platform, what I need?
Is .NET technology and
We
C
need
Sharp
a
.NET
web
language.
technology called ASP.NET, and we need a language called C#.NET. C#.NET. Next, I want to develop a Windows. I want to develop a Windows application. Right now, I want to develop a Windows
So
application. What is the
we need
technology?
Windows forms.
We need a technology
Windows
called Windows
forms.
Windows Forms. We need a technology called Windows Forms, and we need a language called C#.NET. Right? So I want
Yes,
to develop a web service. I want to develop a web service. Okay. So whenever I want to develop a web service, I need a technology called WCF and a language called C#.NET. Finally, we observed one thing: to develop any type of application, we need one technology and one language. So everywhere you need a language called C#.NET. Let's try to understand what is the role of C#.NET, why C#.NET. So for example, let's take the example of a web application. In this web application, let us assume you are developing a web page. Let's implement a web page called a login page. We want to develop a login page. When you are developing a login page means login page is a part of what application? Web application. As part of web application development, I am developing a login page. I'm developing a login page. Whenever login page I am developing. In this login page, what you need exactly? You need a text box, another text box. First text box is accepting UID. Second text box is accepting password. Here you have a button. What is this button, guys?
Sign in button.
Login button. Login button. So actually, what is the functionality of login page? First of all, end user will enter what? End user will enter what in login page? End user has to enter username. Suppose he is entered username as Ravi. Ravi. He has to enter password. Let's say he has entered password as ABC. Then end user will click a button called login. Whenever end user will click login button, what is the functionality of this login page? What is the functionality of this login page? What it will do?
Will verify the user ID.
That
That's
accepted
it.
user ID and password, it will communicate with the database. Means you will have a database. In this database, let us assume this is a database. In this database, you will have a table called user list. You have a table called users list. Users list table. Table is, let's say, users list table. Users list table. That user list table will contain two columns. Number one is UID. Second one is password. And UID column, user ID, the pen board is not working properly. That's why I'm unable to write very clearly. Try to understand. First column is UID, second one is password. UID column will contain all usernames. Let us assume one username is Ravi and password is ABC. Like that, it will contain thousands of users list. Whenever you click login button, what will happen? That application will communicate the database and will check the user ID and password is matching or not matching. If it is matching, it will redirect you to the next page. If it is not matching, here, here in this page only it will display the error message. Here it will display the error message. So that means your login page functionality is whenever end user will click login button, it will communicate the users list table. It will communicate the users list table and will verify the user ID and password, and if both are matching, redirecting you to the next page. If both are not matching, display the error message. So this is the functionality. This is the functionality of the login page. To define this functionality of the login page, we need to write programming. We need to write program. We need to write program. Somewhere I'm getting disturbance. We need to write program. To write this program, we need a programming language. That programming language is nothing but C#.NET. That programming language is nothing but in .NET C#. Finally, we can say the role of C#.NET is to define the functionality of the application. To define the functionality of the application by using C#.NET, we are going to write a program. To write that program, we need a programming language. Due to that reason, in .NET platform, they are giving a programming language called C#.NET. Whatever application you are going to develop, in that application, the role of the C#.NET in .NET is to define the functionality of the application. We have to write a programming. And sir, what is the role of technology called ASP.NET? Then this application environment called login page controls all these things is providing by the technology. Finally, we can say technology is providing the application environment and the language is for the to define the functionality of the application. So with this we can say to define the functionality of the application, you need a programming language called C#.NET. And then we can say why C#.NET? The answer is for C#.NET. The answer is to define the functionality of the application. Define the functionality of the application. So we can give more clarity about this when we are developing any type of application. When we are developing any type of application, to define the functionality of the application, we need a programming language called C#.NET. We need a programming language called C#.NET. So that is the role of C#.NET. By this we discussed 2 points. What is C#.NET? Why C#.NET? So what we discussed, what is C#.NET? C#.NET is a programming language. Second question is why C#.NET? To define the functionality of the application. Right. Next, features of C#.NET. Features of C#.NET. Right. Let's try to understand the features of C#.NET. Right. Number one, every statement. Number one, every statement should end with semicolon. Every statement should end with semicolon. For example, statement 1 semicolon, statement 2 semicolon, like that. Whatever statements you are writing, every statement should end with the semicolon. That is the first point, first feature. Second feature, you can say, yes, it will support block level programming. It will support block level programming. So example for block, opening brace to closing brace means statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. So it is a block, opening brace to closing brace. To represent multiple statements, we are using a concept here called block. That's why when you are writing programming by using C#.NET, you can use blocks. That's why it is called block level programming. Next, block level programming. Next, yeah. The next right feature is it is a case sensitive language. Case sensitive language. It is a case sensitive language. Case sensitive language means, for example, case sensitive language means, for example, you are declaring a variable. Int a is nothing but variable declaration. In this, you are doing variable declaration. So what is variable? Very simple. Variable is a field which can contain some value. Variable is a field which can contain some value. Here, name of the variable is a and the data type is integer. So next, a equal to 10. Here what I have done. So initializing value into a particular variable. Initializing value into particular variable means here your code intention is here creating one variable called a. Uma, please mute yourself. Right here, initializing the value called in this statement, initializing the value called 10 into your variable. initializing the value called 10 into your variable. Are you clear? So this is the code actually. But at the time here, what is happening? Here in the second statement, you are getting error because at the time of first statement, you are creating a variable called small a, and at the time of initializing, you are trying to store into that 10 into a capital A. So immediately compiler will generate an error. It can't recognize capital A because you declared it as small a because it is a case sensitive language. Now, next third point is C# .NET is a most important point. Is a object oriented object-oriented programming object-oriented programming language. It is a object-oriented programming language. Object-oriented programming language. So, what do you mean by object-oriented programming languages? We need to discuss more and more clear now here. Programming languages are two types. Two approaches are we have. One is called procedural oriented approach. Second one is programming approaches are two types. One is procedural oriented approach. Second one is object oriented approach. In procedural oriented approach, program is a in procedural oriented approach. Your programmer solution is a collection of methods in this approach. For example, if whenever you are writing a program by using procedural oriented approach, your program, let's say it is a program which you are writing by using procedural oriented approach, then the program is a collection of methods. Method is nothing but a behavior which will contain some logic to define the behavior. Let us assume here you have written some logic, first method, and you have written another method called m2. You have written another method called m2, and here you have written some other logic, and here you will have a special method called main. Main is nothing but program execution starts by main, program execution controlling by main, and program execution stop by main. You can observe total. This is your program block. In that you have first method and the second method, and it is called a special method. Why it is called a special method? Because sorry, when you run this program, first the program execution starts by main, like main door for your house, like that. Entry, exit, control from this method. So starts from main. That's why whenever you want to invoke any method, you have to invoke from the main. Here I am calling M1, here I am calling M2. Then how this program will execute exactly? Whenever you run the program, first control will execute main, and it will come to main method. It will start from opening brace. Then it will invoke M1. Here control will go to M1 and will execute M1 and will come back. Then after this control will execute M2. Here control will go to M2 and will execute and it will come back. Once it is encountered the closing brace of the main method, then it will understand the program execution is completed. So whenever you have written a program by using this approach, that programming language is called as procedural oriented approach. That is following procedural oriented approach. That programming language is called procedural oriented programming languages. Have you seen anywhere this programming language, this approach in any language, guys?
C
Yes.
program.
C is following this approach. Due to that reason, you can say C language is a procedural oriented programming language. Into the industry, first this approach came due to the some limitations, and second approach came. That second approach is nothing but object oriented approach. In this approach, your program is a collection of classes. Your program is a collection of classes. Class is a collection of methods. Whenever you are writing a program in this approach, in this object-oriented approach, you have to represent your methods in the class. To define a class, we'll use a keyword called class. C1 is the class name. There you have to represent your methods. Let us assume same M1, same M2. If you want to define, no doubt, you should define within the some class. Here I am writing all these two methods within a class called C1. Here you can observe one important point. This is your program block. C1 is the name of the class. Class is a keyword. Class is a collection of methods. The methods, whatever you want to define, you should be defined within the some class. So here M1 and M2 are the methods which are member methods of C1 class. Finally, you can say C1 is a collection of two methods. And here you are defining another class called C2. But in this programming approach also, you will have a special method called main. Let us assume here main is part of C2. Main is part of C2 class, and in this approach also program execution starts by, because here also main is a special function. Here also main is a special function because program execution starts by main and controlling by main, and program execution stop by main. Finally, guys, in this approach, when you written program, your program is a collection of classes. Right now we have how many classes in this program? How many classes?
Two classes.
Two classes. First class is C1. C1 class contain how many methods? Two methods.
Two method.
M1 and M2. And C2 class contain a method called main. The role of main is your program execution starts by a main method, controlling by main method, stop by main method. Whenever you want to call a method, you have to call with the help of class name. For example, C1 dot M1 semicolon, you are calling M1. Second, C1 dot M2, you are calling M2 function. So class name dot method name in this approach. Now when you run this program, in this program, your execution engine will start the program execution from main. Second, it will call C1.m1. Your control will go to C1 class and will execute M1 and will come back. Then C1.m2. Again, it will go to C1 class, will execute M2, will come back. Once it is encountered the closing brace of the main method, then it will understand program execution is completed. So that is a story about object-oriented programming approach. A programming language which will follow this approach, the programming language is called object-oriented programming language. So where you have seen this approach in which languages according to your academics? Huh? C,
Java.
C++, C++, Java, C++, Java, and all .NET languages called C#.NET, VB.NET, VB.NET, and so on and so on. All these languages are following this object-oriented approach. Due to that reason, all these languages are called as object-oriented programming language. Due to that reason, we have given a statement here that is C#.NET is a object-oriented programming language. Now onwards, whenever you have seen any C#.NET program, you should not surprise. You should see this approach. It means you should not surprise by seeing the classes. No doubt about that. Every program will contain collection of classes. Due to that reason, after we have done 1 week classes, we will go to a concept called object-oriented programming concepts. We will go in depth of oops there. There you will understand what is class, why importance of class, all these things. That is the last feature of the important feature. Last means I'm just sharing important features of C#.NET. You can say this is the first feature. You can say, and you can say this is the second feature. To learn any programming language, minimum basic features we should understand. And you can say this is the third feature, and you can say This is the fourth feature. Just only four features I was exposed, not more than that. Okay. So try to maintain the silence in the class whenever, without your knowledge also, the network disturbance is coming sometimes. Whenever I'm muting you means it indicates that some network disturbance is coming from that concerned person. So just don't try to unmute again. Okay. Unmuting means some even though you don't know that there is no, you're not talking to anybody, but some disturbances will come in the class. Okay, that can recognize by the faculty, as well as whenever you can observe in the top of the GoToMeeting window talking RN Reddy, as well as where from where you are getting disturbance, that concern name will display. Even though they are not talking, noise is coming means from there some disturbance is there. Okay, because unnecessarily these disturbances will record in the session. Okay, right. That is a story about yeah, features of C#.NET. Okay, so now right, let's recall what we discussed till the time. First, what C sharp, what is C sharp.net? Now, Vinod, tell me what is C sharp.net? Right, C sharp.net is a, right, yeah. Vinil, what is C sharp.net? Vinil,
Sir,
C sharp.net is what? C sharp.net is a .NET
.NET language.
language.
Yeah.
.NET language. And one more advice to you all the people, whether you follow or not, give, I'll give you 2.5 months training for you. Now it's getting starting. It will end July 15th like that. May worst case July 20th. It is a very powerful training for you. It will change your entire career. It will give you a lot of confidence about your future. I will give guarantee about that. But give high priority for this 1 hour, next 1.5 hour, next 2 hours. Training will be. Means high priority means if it is a important call, suppose we are going to get a call, but it's a very important call. What we will do, we'll sit in very silent place, will not be in traffic. That's the reason. Maximum you try your level best to sit in silence place, not in traffic, not in journeys, not in parties, not in shopping mall. Maintain. Try for that. Try maximum 99%. If you will feel it is important, you can maintain, I'm sure. 1%, even though you went to some outside but want to attend the class, but it's you are unable to avoid, you can attend, but mute yourself. When I asked the question, you just give the response, I can't speak today. Okay, that's it. Okay, but my advice is, if you have taken a choice, then what will happen? Every day you will be in shoppings, you will be in some other places, you can't respond in the class, and even though you can't concentrate the class, no doubt about that, right? C#.NET is a .NET language. Second thing is, why C#.NET? Sammy, why C#.NET?
To
Why?
provide the functionality of the program,
To define the functionality of the
functionality of the
application.
application.
Application means whenever you are developing any type of application, to define the functionality of the application, we need a programming language called C Sharp.
C#.
Now, next, features of C Sharp.NET. Now, Shekhar, can you speak? Features of C Sharp.NET. Shekhar, can you speak? Right. Yes. Now, Shravanti, features of C Sharp.NET. First one is what? Shravanti.
Every statement should
Yeah,
end with
Shekhar, continue.
end with
Every statement
end with a
should
semicolon.
semicolon. Second point is what? Shekhar.
Block level programming.
It supports block level programming.
Block level
Block
programming.
level. Block means it is called block, opening
Instead of
this to
block
close. Now, Shravanti,
close.
continue. Third point is what? Oh, it is a case sensitive language. Case sensitive means here you declared a variable called a, small a, but here you are trying to initialize a value into capital A. Immediately your compiler will throw in a error because it is a case sensitive language. And fourth point, yes, fourth point, yeah.
It is an object-oriented programming language.
It is an object-oriented programming language. Here we need more and more clarity. Now, Poonam, come on, you explain. Explain about programming approaches here. Programming, because I have given lot of explanation here. Programming approaches. What do you mean by programming approaches? How many are there? Poonam, come on. How many are?
Programming approaches, there are two.
Two types. Programming
Two
approaches
types
are
of
two types. Number one,
procedural oriented, second one
Number one,
object oriented
procedural
programming
oriented
language.
approach. Number two, object oriented approach. Okay. Now,
Oriented
right,
programming
see
language.
Harsha, come on. What do you mean by procedural oriented approach?
In which logic is in methods, where we are using the methods.
In procedural oriented approach, your program
It
is a
is a
collection
collection
of
of methods.
We are using methods for logic.
program is a collection of methods. Program is a
Methods.
collection of methods.
Collection of
So in this
methods.
approach, and in all among all the methods, we'll have a special method called what? Main. So program
Yes.
Main
execution
method.
starts by main, controlling by main, stop by main. And any programming
Problem.
language which will follow this approach is called procedural oriented programming language. Can you give me the one example for procedural oriented language? C.
C language.
C language. And
C
coming to the
language.
second approach, right? Coming to the second approach, Stavia, come on.
Object
Second
oriented.
approach. Explain about object-oriented approach, Stavia.
Yeah, the second approach is object-oriented approach, where the programs are it's a collection of classes, objects, and methods.
Hmm, hmm.
Each class will have a
Program is
method,
it.
and there is a
So for some time we'll not discuss about objects because unnecessary confusion. Only talking about classes. So in this approach, your program is a collection of classes, and the
classes
class
and
will
methods.
contain what? Collection of
Methods.
methods. Finally, to
Method.
define class, what is the keyword we will use?
Class.
We'll use what is the keyword class, and what is its name of the class? What is the name of the class? C1, and class is a
Methods.
collection of methods. And whenever you want to define a method in this approach, you have to define within a class.
Yeah.
Okay, here in the C1 class, I have defined how many methods?
Two methods.
Two methods. First method name,
M1,
second method name,
M2.
M2. Generally, whenever you are defining a method, you will have this parenthesis part. This parenthesis part is called signature. Why signature? What is that? I'll tell you. Wait for some time. Here you have some logic. Here you have some logic. Then we defined another class called C2. In C2 class, we have a method called main, and program execution starts by main. And here you are invoking M1 method. Here you are invoking M2 method. Whenever you want to invoke a method, the syntax is class name dot method name. Class name dot method name. So a programming language which will follow this approach, the programming language is called object-oriented programming language and object-oriented programming language. My question to all the people, and what are the object-oriented programming languages we have? Number one, C++, Java,
Java,
number three,
Java,
C#.net,
VB.NET. Final conclusion is C#.NET, our language C#.NET is a object-oriented programming language. So here, any programming language you learn, first we will understand, we will go with the basic programming. We'll first go with basic programming, and second we will go with the basic programming. Basic programming means in basic programming we will learn what you know, how to print a value, how to print a message, how to accept a value, how to print a value to the user, how to accept a value, from the user. This is a basic programming. Here we will discuss data types, and type conversions, basics. Next, we will enter into programming with control statements, second level, control statements. Here we will learn more and more logic. It is very highlighted in our training. Second, now it is object-oriented programming. That's why we will learn OOPS means object-oriented programming concepts in C#.NET. Okay, so like that we will learn one by one, step by step training it is. Okay, so meanwhile, step-by-step training. 1 second, guys. Like that, what I'm telling you, we will learn one by one. So we're going to start basic level programming. So now next we will enter into data types, type conversion. Next we'll enter into control statements. Next OOPS programming, like that. Now we have to understand how to learn how to learn C#.net. How to learn C#.net. So now, as a .NET developer, you need to learn C#.net to define the functionality of the application. Now we need to understand, yes, you want to learn C#.net, but how to learn? How to learn this language? Right. Now, Bhushan, how to learn C#.net? You are planning to learn C#.net because you are a .NET developer. So to develop any type of application by using this platform, to define the functionality, you need a language called C#.net. So you want to learn, but how to learn? What is your answer, Bhushan? Right. Next, how to learn? Because yesterday we discussed, in last class we discussed about this, how to learn C#.net. Urmil, how to learn? I think you are not attended last session. Right. Okay. Next.
I did by learning console programs.
The help of.
I did last class.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
good.
I did.
You attended last class with the help of.
Yeah, I did. With the help of console programs.
Applications. With the help of console applications. How to learn C#.net. Whenever you want to learn any programming language, you can learn. You have to learn. You can learn with the help of console application. Because in the last session we realized that one. So here we need to get recall about features of console application. Already we discussed. But now onwards, now coming couple of days, you are learning the C#.net with the help of console application. Means you will learn complete C#.net couple of days with the help of console application. Today onwards or tomorrow onwards, your programming is in console application. So when you are learning and when you are working couple of days with console application, it's better to have a recall the features of console application, which we have discussed in the last class. Come on, guys. Anyone can give the features of
It's a single user.
Right. Number one.
A single user application.
User. Here, first important point we have to recall is almost all your console applications are similar like Windows applications, except Windows application will have a user interface and console application will not have any user interface. So instead of comparing this console application with Windows application, because might be somebody forgot about Windows application, so better to have individual discussion about console application, the features of console application. First one is single user. Single user means at a time it can be consumed by only one user. Second one is end user not required internet connection. Means whenever console application wants to consume by some end user, it doesn't require any internet connection. Third one is should be installed.
The end user machine.
Should be
The
installed.
end user machine.
User machine should be installed at end user machine. So console application should be installed at the end user machine. That is the third point, and the fourth point is
Inputs and outputs.
Doesn't have any
Input
special
and
user
output are
interface.
displayed through console window.
yes. No special
User interface.
user interface. No special user interface. Input and output will be within the command prompt window. Input and output will be within the command prompt window. That command prompt window is called as a console window. So in this applications, we don't have any special user interface. Input and output will be within the command prompt window. Command prompt window is nothing but this black window is called command prompt window. This block window is taking as special user interface in this console. It is taking as a user interface, but there is no special user interface for this application. Even though it is taking console window as a user interface, that's why these applications are called as console application. Number one is single user application, means at a time the application can be consumed by one user. Number two is end user not required internet connection. Number three is application should be installed at end user machine. Number four is no special user interface. And number five is input and output will be within the command prompt window or console window. These are all the main features of console application. Main features of console application, right? So that is a story about this one, right? Next point is, yeah, that is a story here. Next, how to so finally main use or purpose of console application is what we discussed already. Purpose of console application means when we will go for console application. Purpose of console application means when
To learn feature.
when we will go for console application. When we will go for console application is when we'll go for console application is this answer to learn programming languages, like C#.net, like VB.net, to learn programming languages, what is that? C#.net, VB.net, or any programming language. If you want to, yes, if you want to learn a programming language, you have to take the help of what application? Console application. Yes, right. Next to how to develop a console application. How to develop a console application by using .NET platform. How to develop a console application by using .NET platform. Answer. How to develop a console application by using .NET platform. Answer is number one, .NET language. You have to use a .NET language called what is it? C#.net or VB.net. And you have to use a technology called console technology we discussed in the last class. So with the help of C#.net and with the help of console technology, we can develop a console application in .NET platform. With the help of this, we are going to learn a programming language called C#.net from tomorrow onwards. Now, next, how to, right. Next one is developing a console application. Otherwise, creating a new console application. Next is creating a new console application by using .NET. Creating a new console application by using .NET. By using .NET platform, you have to create a new console application. Okay. So now in step by step, we are going to see how to create a new console application. How to create a new console application that we are going to see in the next class. First we are going to create one first console application. After we created that console application, there we will first try to understand the basic features of the development environment and we'll start. So almost all we can say that tomorrow your programming is going to start. I'm sure you are going to write your first program tomorrow, so that I'm going to make you to write first couple of days in Notepad. And how many people are installed .NET software? How many? Tomorrow we are going to start. Any newcomers are there, you can invite by tomorrow. And my advice to you all the people is what I am telling you.